Welcome back to Inherited Dawn, a One Piece podcast.
We are back, and today we are covering Chapter 47, The Strongest Pirate Fleet Captain, Don Krieg.
The title alone tells you we are in for it. The strongest pirate fleet captain. Oda is just laying it out there. This guy's whole identity is built on being the biggest and the baddest. But Robin, nothing in that title prepares you for the last line of this chapter. Nothing.
It's one of those moments that doesn't just change the chapter, it changes the entire arc. It retroactively makes the entire world feel larger and more dangerous.
Exactly. We thought we were just dealing with a brute in fancy armor, a typical East Blue big shot who thinks he runs the place. And maybe we are, but we just found out the quiet old man running the restaurant has a history that makes that brute shake in his metal boots.
If you're as excited as we are to see how these histories collide, make sure you're following the show. That way you inherit every new episode right when it drops.
Let's get into it. The chapter kicks off right in the middle of the chaos. Krieg is on the deck of the Baratie, and the chefs are losing their minds. And rightfully so. This guy looks like a final boss from some kind of crazy video game.
They're trying to flee. They see this giant armored pirate and his wrecked galleon, which is practically a ghost ship at this point, and they correctly surmise that their lives are in immediate danger. This isn't a customer, it's an invasion.
But Jin steps up. And this is what I love about Jin. He's been through hell. He's starving. He knows how dangerous Krieg is better than anyone. But he stands right in front of Don Krieg and says, "You promised you wouldn't hurt anyone here." He's holding his captain to a standard of honor.
It's a fascinating moment for Jin. His loyalty is absolute, but it's not blind. He believes in a certain pirate code, a code of repaying one's debts. Sanji saved his life, and in Jin's mind, that created a sanctuary. He genuinely believed his captain would honor that.
It's a beautiful, foolish moment. You want to root for him, but you just know it's not going to work. This isn't a crew that runs on honor. It runs on fear and power.
And Krieg immediately proves that. He dismisses Jin's plea without a second thought. He clarifies that he just won't hurt them because he needs the ship intact. It's such a chillingly pragmatic piece of evil. He's not being wantonly destructive. He's just taking what he wants and removing all obstacles.
He basically says, your lives are secondary to my needs. It's pure narcissism. And what he wants right now is food. He lays it all out. His massive crew of 100 men are all starving or dying on that ship. He demands the chefs cook for every single one of them.
The chefs, to their credit, refuse. Patty and Carne particularly are not having it. They draw a line. They fed one starving pirate, Sanji did, against their wishes, but they will not supply an invading army. They understand the difference between an act of compassion and an act of surrender.
It's a solid stance. You can't blame them at all. They're basically saying, we'll help a person, but we won't help a monster fuel up. Feeding Krieg's crew isn't just charity. It's arming an enemy who has explicitly stated he's going to take their home and possibly their lives.
It's a classic ethical dilemma. Do you uphold a principle, feeding the hungry, even when you know it will lead to a worse outcome? The chefs are making a calculated choice for the greater good of their own survival.
But Sanji, man, Sanji can't do it. You see it on his face. He hears 100 starving men and something in him just breaks. All the context, all the threats, it all just melts away. He gets up, ignoring everyone, and just starts walking to the kitchen.
Because to him, a hungry person is a hungry person. The context, pirate, marine, civilian, it doesn't matter. The need is all that registers. It's almost like a compulsion, a switch that gets flipped in his mind that he has no control over. The cry of a stomach is a call he is biologically incapable of ignoring.
This is the core of his character, right here. It's the thing that makes him so kind, so compassionate, but it's also his biggest vulnerability. It's his kryptonite. And the other chefs, his family, they know him. They know him so well that they know what he's going to do before he even does it. And that's why they pull out guns and point them at Sanji.
It's a shocking panel. The people he works with every day, the men he brawls with and laughs with, are now holding him at gunpoint. But it's crucial to understand their motivation. They're not trying to kill him. They're trying to stop him from getting them all killed. It's this desperate, twisted act of protection.
It's the most messed up intervention I've ever seen. They know words won't work. They know appealing to his logic won't work. When it comes to starvation, Sanji is a runaway train, so they have to try and derail it by force. It's brutal, but it comes from a place of love in a weird way.
And Sanji's response is so telling. He doesn't fight back. He doesn't get angry. He just looks at them with this profound sadness and determination.
He just says, I can't let them die. It's my duty as a chef. That's his code, his nindo, his ninja way. That is his absolute unbreakable rule. It's not a preference, it's a law of his own personal universe.
But Patty doesn't care about his code right now. He's a pragmatist with a responsibility to the entire restaurant. He can't let one man's personal philosophy endanger everyone else. He takes matters into his own hands.
Yeah, he just walks up and decks Sanji, a clean right hook, knocks him clean out, says he can't let him get involved. It's brutal, but you get it. He's taking the decision out of Sanji's hands because Sanji is incapable of making the smart one. It's like, I'm sorry, brother, but you're a liability right now.
Patty is the pragmatist here. He's the opposite of Sanji in this moment. He sees an enemy, and he's going to eliminate the threat before it can fester. He's not going to negotiate. He's not going to feed them. He's going to fight.
And his way of eliminating the threat is, oh my god, it's so good. It's a giant cannon shaped like a piece of meat that fires a food-based explosive.
The Meatball cannon. I think he called it something ridiculous like the shrimp chili firing pin, just to really drive home the theme.
The Meatball cannon. It's so ridiculous, so perfectly Baratie. It's a weapon of war that looks like it belongs on a dinner plate. He fires this giant explosive meatball and it hits Krieg dead on. There's this huge explosion. For a second you think, did that actually work? Like maybe Krieg is allergic to shellfish or something.
It's a moment of levity in an incredibly tense scene, which Oda is a master of. You see this absurd weapon and you almost forget you're in a life or death situation. But of course it didn't work. The smoke clears and Krieg is just standing there, completely unfazed. His golden armor is a little scuffed, but that's it.
He literally just blows the smoke off his shoulder plate like it's a piece of dust. The level of disrespect is incredible. The chef's ultimate weapon was a mild inconvenience to him. And this is where it gets terrifying.
He just calmly says, that was a foolish thing to do. There's no anger in his voice. It's the cold disappointment of a god swatting at a fly. Then all these little ports open up all over his armor, and he fires a volley of poisoned barbs, taking down all the chefs in an instant.
It's a massacre. One second you have this line of defiant armed chefs ready to defend their home. The next they're all on the ground, groaning in pain, incapacitated. It's over before it even began.
It's a complete reversal. The chefs went from an armed group defending their home to a pile of bodies on the floor in a single second. It's a statement. Don Krieg didn't even have to move. He just let his armor do the work.
Oda is showing us the difference in scale here. He's establishing a new power level. The chefs are tough. They can handle themselves in a restaurant brawl against pirates. We've seen that. But Don Krieg is a weapon of war. He's on a completely different plane of existence from them.
He essentially is a weapon. He's a walking battleship. He says it himself. His armor is made of Wootz steel, the strongest there is. It's covered in guns, barbs, probably cannons for all we know. His entire philosophy is built around this external shell. He doesn't need to be strong himself as long as his armor is strong.
It's like he's a walking tank, a human-shaped battleship. And once he's demonstrated his power, he starts monologuing. It's the classic villain speech, but it's effective because we just saw the proof. He's talking about his battle experience, his 50-ship armada, how he's conquered everything in his path.
It's a psychological attack. He's already won the physical confrontation. Now he's trying to psychologically dominate them, to break their spirits so thoroughly that they won't even think of resisting again.
It's classic intimidation. You see this with guys like him and Arlon later. They need everyone to believe in their inherent superiority. His logic is simple. I am the strongest, I have the biggest fleet and the best armor. Those who defy the strongest must die. Therefore, obey me.
And he believes his own hype. That's the key. In his mind, because he has amassed the most firepower and the largest crew in the East Blue, he is, by default, the most powerful man. It's a very simplistic, almost childlike view of what strength really is.
He's puffing his chest out, standing over the bodies of his enemies, declaring himself king of the world.
And just when he's at the peak of his speech, at the height of his power, a bag of food just lands at his feet with a quiet thud.
Thrown by Zeff. The timing is just chef's kiss. Perfect.
Zeff just walks out of the kitchen, calm as can be, holding a sack of food. He doesn't look at Krieg's armor, he doesn't react to the downed chefs, he just puts the food down. His posture is relaxed, he is utterly unintimidated.
The other chefs who are still conscious are screaming at him. "What are you doing, Owner Zeff?" They can't believe it. He's doing the exact thing they were trying to stop Sanji from doing, the thing Patty knocked Sanji out to prevent. From their perspective, their boss is just surrendering.
But Zeff is operating on a different level. He's not surrendering, he's assessing. He looks at Don Krieg, this man who has just declared himself the strongest in the world, this walking arsenal of gold and steel, and he says one thing.
He calls him a defeated warrior. Oh, it's so cold.
You and your crew are nothing more than a band of defeated warriors who barely escaped the Grand Line with your lives.
And that one sentence just shatters everything. It's like a record scratch in the middle of Krieg's triumphant theme music. It completely undermines Krieg's entire monologue. All that talk about being the strongest, all the bragging, Zeff just pops the balloon with one pinprick of truth.
Think about what that means for the story. The Grand Line has been this far-off, almost mythical place. We know Luffy wants to go there, we know it's dangerous, but this is our first real tangible evidence of how dangerous it is. This guy, the most feared pirate in the entire East Blue, with a fleet of 50 ships, he went there, and he was so thoroughly beaten that he had to run all the way back here.
The Grand Line isn't just a place you go to get stronger. It's a filter. It chews people up and spits them out. And Don Krieg is one of the ones who got spit out. That reframes him completely. He's not a conqueror. He's a survivor, a refugee.
The chefs are floored. They can't process it. This golden god of a pirate is a loser? But Krieg can process it. The look on his face, the sweat beading on his brow inside his helmet. He knows Zeff is right. His carefully constructed facade has been cracked. And then he recognizes him.
He looks past the chef's hat and the mustache. He looks down at Zeff's leg.
The name drop that changes the entire arc. He looks at this old chef with a prosthetic leg and says, "That red leg, it can't be. Red leg Zeff?"
Super. That's the moment. Right there. That's how you build a world. The quiet, peg-legged owner of a floating restaurant is a legendary pirate that even Don Krieg knows by name and reputation. It's not just some old man. It's a piece of living history.
The name itself is so evocative. Red leg. It tells you everything you need to know about his fighting style. We've seen Sanji fight with his feet, this beautiful, acrobatic, powerful style. Now we know where he learned it. He inherited that style from a pirate so famous, his epithet is known across the seas.
This connects so many dots. Sanji's fighting style, Zeff's missing leg, the shared history of starvation they hinted at back in chapter 45. It's all rooted in Zeff's past as a Grand Line pirate. A real one who survived it, not one who ran from it like Krieg.
And Krieg's terror is palpable. He wasn't scared of Patty's cannon. He wasn't scared of an entire restaurant of angry chefs. He is scared of this old man, because Zeff represents the place that broke him. Zeff is a living embodiment of the Grand Line's power, the very thing that shattered Krieg's fleet and his ego.
This is what One Piece does better than anything. It makes the world feel huge and full of history. We're on a little fish restaurant in the weakest sea, and we just stumbled upon a living legend who has seen the horrors of the Grand Line firsthand. It's like finding a retired war hero running a corner store. The history is hidden in plain sight.
It also completely raises the stakes for Sanji. He's not just some cook Luffy wants on his crew. He's the protege of a famous pirate captain. He has a legacy. He has an inherited will. He is the heir to the Red Leg style.
The inherited dawn of it all, right there. Zeff's era as a pirate is over. His day has ended. But his will to feed people, to fight for what you care about with your feet, lives on in Sanji. Sanji is his dawn.
And now Sanji, who is still unconscious on the deck, is about to get caught between his mentor's past and his own future with Luffy. This is not just a fight for the Baratie anymore. It's a clash of generations. The failed pirate from the Grand Line versus the retired legend of the Grand Line, with their proteges caught in the middle.
It also makes you wonder what exactly did happen to Krieg in the Grand Line. Zeff called them defeated. That implies a fight. It implies they lost to someone or something, and it wasn't a close fight either.
It has to be something terrifying. To break a fleet of 50 ships and send the captain running home with only 100 men left out of a crew of thousands? That's not a simple defeat. That's annihilation. A statistical wipeout.
And now that annihilated crew is here, trying to reclaim their pride by bullying the East Blue. But they just happen to pick the one restaurant run by a man who knows exactly how weak they really are. Talk about bad luck.
The dramatic irony is perfect. Krieg came here to project an image of ultimate strength, and he ran into the one person who knows his ultimate failure. He walked into the one place in the entire East Blue where his reputation means nothing because the man in charge has a bigger one.
Oda's author comment this week was about listening to Irish music because it's so carefree. It's so funny to think of him chilling to some Irish folk tunes while writing this incredibly tense, world-expanding chapter.
Maybe that's his process. A calm, carefree atmosphere allows him to write the most stressful situations imaginable. It's a necessary balance.
It's working, whatever it is. This chapter completely changed the game for the Baratie arc. It went from a fight over a restaurant to a story about legacy, survival, and the terrifying reality of the world our crew is trying to conquer.
A world where a man like Zeff can exist, a pirate captain who experiences the Grand Line, achieves fame and fortune, and then gives it all up to become a chef and raise the next generation. It's a profound character arc that we've only just glimpsed.
And a world where a man like Krieg can exist, a captain who sacrifices his whole crew and his honor just to maintain the illusion of being the strongest. He'd rather rule in hell than serve in heaven, or in this case, he'd rather be a king in the weak East Blue than a failure in the Grand Line.
It's the perfect setup for Luffy. He doesn't care about being the strongest, he cares about being the most free. That's the philosophy that's going to be tested here, against Krieg's philosophy of might makes right.
It's all coming to a head, bro. The table is set. The history has been revealed. Now it's time for the fight.
Before we get into what might happen next, if you have a theory about what Zeff's nickname Red Leg really means, or who you think beat Krieg in the Grand Line, let us know in the comments. We'd love to read your ideas.
All right, prediction time. Let's see what we think is coming in Chapter 48. I'll go first.
Go ahead.
Prediction 1. Krieg is going to get over his shock, and his ego is going to take over. He's not going to be scared for long. He can't afford to be. He's going to attack Zeff to silence him, to prove he's not weak, to erase the witness to his shame. And Zeff is going to block it, effortlessly, maybe with just his peg leg, and show everyone a tiny glimpse of the power that made him a legend. Just a little taste to remind everyone who is really in charge.
I could see that. A demonstration of the old guard's strength. It would establish Zeff as more than just a name, but a genuine threat even in his old age.
Prediction 2. We are getting a flashback. There's no way Oda drops a bombshell like my entire 50-ship fleet was destroyed and doesn't tell us how it happened. Either Krieg explains what happened to him in the Grand Line, he'll tell a story so terrifying it'll scare the other chefs into submission, or Zeff will start to tell Sanji a little bit about his past. The timing is perfect for it. We need context for this confrontation.
That feels inevitable. The reveal demands an explanation, either from the victim or from the man who understands the context.
And my third prediction, the classic Franky wild card, Luffy wakes up. He's been knocked out this whole time, stuck under the rubble of the roof Zeff broke. He's going to wake up, see Krieg threatening the old man who gave him food or trying to take the Baratie, and he's just going to launch a gum-gum pistol without a second thought, completely changing the dynamic of the confrontation. He won't know the history, he won't know about Red Leg. He'll just see a friend in trouble and act.
A classic Luffy entrance. Simple, direct, and effective. Okay, my turn.
Let's hear it.
Prediction 1. The name Red Leg is both literal and a reputation. I believe we'll learn his kicking style was so powerful or so bloody that his leg would be covered in his enemy's blood after a fight, earning him the name Red Leg. It's a brutal image, but fitting for a Grand Line pirate captain. And we'll get confirmation that his current leg is a prosthetic, lost not to weakness, but in some great battle or perhaps an act of sacrifice.
Oh, that's dark. I love it. Red with the blood of his enemies. So good. That makes him sound like a total demon on the battlefield, which makes his life as a gentle chef even more interesting.
Prediction 2. When Krieg tells his story of the Grand Line, he won't name a person. He will describe a force of nature, a phenomenon. Something that shows the sea itself is the greatest enemy. Or, if it is a person, my money is on Dracul Mihawk. We just saw him destroy a fleet for fun. It's entirely possible Krieg's 50-ship armada was just a way for Mihawk to pass the time one afternoon on his way to the East Blue.
Bro, that would be cold. If Krieg's entire traumatic backstory, the thing that defines his failure, was just a Tuesday for Mihawk, that would be an insane way to establish the power levels of the Seven Warlords.
It would perfectly illustrate the gap between the so-called strongest of the East Blue and a single player on the world stage. My final prediction is about Jin. He's going to be the deciding factor in the coming conflict. He's a man of honor who serves a dishonorable captain. Seeing Krieg threaten Zeff, another man who showed compassion by feeding the hungry, will force him to choose a side. I predict he will refuse to fight for Krieg, at least in this battle for the Baratie, creating a schism within the Krieg pirates.
A mutiny from within. That would be an amazing turn. He'd be choosing the Sanji way of honor and repaying debts over the Krieg way of brute force.
Exactly. He's the character caught between these two opposing philosophies. His choice will signify which ideology has more true strength.
I can't wait to see which of us is right. This arc just got 10 times more interesting. It's a pressure cooker, and Oda just cranked the heat all the way up.
The stakes are higher than ever. It's not just about a cook anymore, it's about the very nature of strength, honor, and survival in the world of One Piece. And we will be right here next time to break down what happens next.
You better believe it. Until then, stay super.